All right, here we go again. Uh, this is a classroom. You're here to learn, I hope. Um, Going to be going over. Well, first I'm going to start about talking about my experiences with depression. Um, uh, I had a huge issue of depression. Well, a huge round of depression. I call them rounds of depression. In 2016, when my marriage ended, the um, the person I was with at the time, um, it's a pretty decent story. I guess I can tell it. When I first met her, I'm trying to think of if this is fair to talk about or not. I think it is. I don't mean any harm to come to anybody. Um, but when she and I were dating, but this is before we ever were exactly committed, I guess. I always felt I was committed to her, but she um, she had a huge issue with drugs and going out to raves and whatnot. And I just gave her an ultimatum saying, "Hey, we can't be together unless you stop this drug use." Um, and she chose to stick with me. Um, she then later decided to experiment with another partner, and well, you know, we all have our lives to live. I should have learned from that, but then I married her after that, so I can be, I can be very forgiving about things. We all make mistakes. Um, so at the end of my marriage, the one of the most significant reasons for the end was how she had no capacity to consider what I was sharing with her. Um, I had um, I knew about fluoride back then, and I was recommending to her that we not give fluoride to our children because I believed it was going to harm them and make them, well, more dumb than we were. Um, she chose to completely deny that, and ultimately, I think that led to the end of the marriage, in a way. That you don't you you have to listen to your partner. You don't have to do what they say, but you do have to listen. And she wouldn't listen. Like I was trying to share, knowledge at the time. I was trying to share lots of different things that I was aware of at the time. Especially like I've always known that it affects our intelligence levels. I've learned a lot more this year um, about what it's actually doing, how significantly impactful it is. Um, but I knew back then that it was going to make my children less intelligent in the long run. And there's nothing I could do about that because the marriage ended and they're being raised by her. I'm not gonna not gonna be uh, perceived as an awful man trying to take his children away from his wife. That's not something I need to go through in my life. Um, Maybe eventually she'll realize the error of her ways, and that's something she's going to have to live with. So at that time, I was working, with um, a bunch of people online, and we were all kind of figuring out how to get through it. I had no clue. I thought it was associated to the resolution of the marriage, and I think it was, you know, but ultimately at the time, I think the the fact that so around the like we had three kids together. Around the second kid, and I think even the first one, she was taking antidepressants. Now I didn't know what antidepressants were. You can go back and look at the previous video. I'm fairly certain she was on fluoxetine, or maybe like Lexapro. I can't remember. It's been so long, but she was definitely on drugs, and obviously on tap water because she's bathing in it and using fluoride in her toothpaste because she's a firm believer in the medical benefits of it. Um, the um, perfect victim, I think, is how I would describe that now. Um, I've got my window up here. I'm trying to block the wind, but you might get some wind in here, so um, I need to get some air so I can stay cool ish. But so she ended up taking drugs after I gave her that ultimatum before we ever got married. And honestly, I think the drugs was what ended the marriage, because as I said in the previous video about antidepressants, the drugs she was on were causing emotional blunting. I was not experiencing her, and I knew it. I couldn't describe it. I didn't know what it was at the time. But ultimately, her decision to use drugs caused us to separate. I believe it caused her to fall in life, and it's really hard. Um, yeah. Let me let me make sure I'm streaming here. Getting all choked up. Yeah, everything looks good. Close that. The So today we're talking about well, it's still today. I'm doing all these episodes on the same day just to get them over with. I want the work done. I want to get moving on. So whatever else I'm supposed to be doing. Um, but I let's see. So yeah, she ended up taking drugs that were affecting her and impairing her, and I didn't know that's what was going on at the time. You don't know what you don't know until you figure it out. So, uh, shortcut to last October of 23, I experienced depression again, and I did it in 2022 as well. Um, and I finally started to figure out in 23, late 23, October, that um, it was something nutritional. I figured that out. I landed on to uh, I didn't hit this article at that time, so let me. But what I did note is that I ate. I chose to eat something with celery in it, and I noticed how quickly it was like bang. It was like boom, depression gone when I ate it, and I thought, huh, because I'm someone who I don't take drugs. I just don't, and I don't. Um, I don't expose myself to tap water. I drink distilled water. I think, during 2022 and maybe before that, I think I did have a little run-in with some water because um, I was trying to be something that I'm not. Um, and I'd like, I like to taking showers. That's nice, but I don't like getting poisoned when I do so. So, um, yeah. But anyways, I landed on this celery thing, and I started digging around nutrition and relating to um, so in my nitric oxide channel, the first two things are beets and celery, and I couldn't explain why exactly these two things had such an impact on depression. So I was digging around, and I finally came across. Well, I'm gonna try to get through this. Hopefully, I can. I'm also recording it so that I can potentially merge the videos later on. But this article impacted um, impacted me a lot. This particular piece right here was huge because I thought, well, why, you know, it's saying here, it plays a role in positive influence and mood in general. And so I was like, huh. So I started really digging around with nitric oxide. Um, and it says here, it's for the production of serotonin, basically everything that makes you feel good. It's essential, right? BH4 is essential, but it's a production um, for because of nitric oxide, right? So I just said, hey, well, let's just continue. Like, let's instead of um, oh, before I go too far, there was um, one uh, one more bout. So that was my second bout. There was one more bout with depression, and that time it was uh, it was intentional because I had learned about what we're going to learn today. Oh, no, did I talk about it before? Yes, about how sugar impacts depression. And so I talked about that in the depression video, so we're aware of that already. I can talk about it. There's going to be a little couple of images that I put together that are related to that, so we'll look at those now. Well, during this video, but I learned. I said so. I learned basically. So it was like if I eat a ton of carbohydrates, I'm going to experience depression. It was very simple, and so I tested it. I'm a very good big fan of corn tortilla chips and guacamole or salsa, and so I participated in the consumption of that for a couple days in a row. And now I might be someone a little bit more different than others. I typically I buy food to eat the food. I don't buy food to eat a portion. So if I go buy a bag of chips, I am gonna eat an entire bag of chips. That's just how I am. You do you. I'm gonna do me. So, but if I wasn't me, I would never have learned this. So I learned that if I go and I eat a bag of chips or two, I'm gonna cause a massive insulin production, and that's gonna decrease my nitric oxide levels. Inherently, because that happens, I'm gonna have a lack of production of my good mood chemicals. It's really that simple. Okay? So if you found your way to this video from the depression video or from the keyword that's nitric oxide, great. Um, you're here to learn. We're gonna go through it all. So let's see. So beets. So this article, here's the the link's up here. You can read it. But you should be able to just search for any of the strings of these words here, and it should take you to the article. You'll find it. I'm just going to keep going. I'm getting tons of disconnect reconnects, but I'm just going to keep going here. So I'll have to merge the video back in. So I eventually learned I should get a Ninja Bullet. I used to have one of these when I lived in Minnesota. I left it behind because I didn't think I was ever going to lose that home, but whatever. But yeah, the Ninja Bullets, I think it's a pretty decent device. And so you could put your nitric oxide veggies in there. You can add, if you're going to add fruit to kind of sweeten it up, I would do blueberries or strawberries because those are fiber rich, and so the carbohydrates in it won't spike your blood sugar that bad. They're a little bit more manageable, but they also improve the flavor of what you're eating. And by blending it, don't juice it, because when you juice it, you're removing the pulp. And in the pulp, there's two reasons you want that pulp. The pulp is going to help your body purge toxins, because it's basically kind of like a dumping ground when it's in your intestines. Your body starts taking toxins, just shoving it into that. Get it in this pulp and get it out of here, right? The other thing is the enzymes that are in there help with all kinds of production of different chemicals that are typically related to that particular plant or whatever you're eating. So that's why you want to blend it in a blender rather than juice it. Because with the juicing, you're only getting the micronutrients, not the pulp. Okay. Let's see. This is about fluoride, and because I like to, I like to keep going over fluoride. This was in this channel as well, because the main reason why is because it and decrease nitric oxide levels. So fluoride decreases nitric oxide levels. It inherently increases blood glucose. So that's the way she goes. I'm getting hot. I'm gonna put the window down. I don't care about the airflow. Hopefully the video's okay. But let's keep going here. And so it's added to the drinking water like we know. But I put these are all from my nitric oxide channel, but it's in tap water, it's in bath water. So these, whenever you're being exposed to it, it's affecting your brain chemistry. Okay, it's affecting the natural flow of your brain chemicals every time you get exposed to tap water. Okay, and it's done without your knowledge or consent. Maybe you do know about it and you're just still participating. Don't. Here are the ways that you can see its impact. It gets deposited in the skeleton. It's just these are just things. I'm just going to quickly scroll through these so that you can see them. Causes DNA damage. The other one that I saw that was real significant to me was critical cell damage. And when I did a search, because I knew that cell damage is apoptosis, I found that when I was digging around for that, that's when I found this book and started to learn even more about how actually it's how vast the damage is that it's doing. You don't realize. And so, here it's saying chronic fluoride exposure. Well, chronic just means frequent. And that's every time you wash your hands, every time you shower, every time you brush your teeth, every time you drink water from anything that contains water at a grocery store, chances are it's in there. Okay? There it is, cell death. It causes cell death. So, production of nitric oxide significantly decreased. after fluoride exposure. So if you want to have healthy brain chemicals for maintaining your mood and happiness, don't do fluoride. Don't drug yourself with fluoride. Okay? Oh crap, which one am I on? There, this one. Okay, so here are some foods. I was looking for foods to share with my my Discord server about what you can eat. So we're talking leafy greens. Get off my screen. Beets, greens, rhubarb, spirulina, dark chocolate. There you go. There's a list of what you can eat to get your nitric oxide levels up. Okay. I found this while I was digging too. This is I think this is maybe a student presentation of that when they learned about this. It was from June of 2013 of all things. But it was Oregon State University. So somebody there put this together. I'm just going to scroll through it. I'll pause on a little bit on each area so that you can grab screenshots or whatever. I mean, I don't know what the link is for this anymore, but you can also search for, probably Oregon State nitric oxide. It'll probably take you to it. But I found this was a great find. Here's how it's showing that you get better blood flow once you've got it in there, in your body. Oops. There you go. So here are the big hitters that I found. Because I was originally, advertising celery and beetroot, and I was like, well, is there others? Because I started seeing hints that there were other green leafy vegetables, and so I started looking around. I found, we got chard and radish and rucola, which, if you don't know, is arugula, and it's also called rocket. So there you go. That's what those are. But the one that I'd like to mention on here, especially if you're overweight, is spinach. And there's other reasons why spinach as well. Spinach has, I think it's, let me look real quick here. Oops. Is that niacin? Yeah. Is that it? No, nicotinic acid. That's what's in there as well. That's the one I was looking for, nicotinic acid. So yeah, there's nicotine in spinach. Yeah, they're the same thing. Just learn that they're the same. Nicotinic acid. It's in the nightshade family, and it's in spinach in certain levels. There's a few things. Oh, actually, that's the next video. Sorry, don't get into that. Don't look at that. So there you go. This is nitric oxide video. Spinach, though, because it's got lutein and glutathione, I think, is the reasons why we were looking at spinach. And for me specifically, I was looking at it for a little bit aiding in a little bit of weight loss, because of how fluoride has impacted my metabolism. And yeah. So when people, when you hear how people are overweight, and it's, they say, well, I don't eat a ton of food, and that's true. I believe them. I absolutely believe them. They probably don't eat too much food. It's that fluoride has turned down their metabolism to a point where they don't need technically as much food to exist anymore. And that's why their body is storing it, because it's got things turned down. You'll also notice, like for me, I notice I don't have as much capacity to build muscles. Um, and I've not exactly set myself to do that, in an aggressive fashion, because I've been living life. I don't need to focus on that sort of thing, but at least I don't feel I do. Maybe I should. But anyway, I was looking at this graph because I was looking for something and I couldn't find it. I was looking for a graph that would present, you know, I wanted to see how the consumption of carbohydrates would cause a blood glucose increase. In this particular graph, it's showing the comparison between where you want to keep your blood sugar levels, your target range, right? So when you eat something that's, like high carb food, like wheat, corn, rice, it spikes up and goes up and out of, the target range where you want to keep that blood sugar, so that your body can stay in, kind of like stay in homeostasis, and regulated, so that nothing's deviating out of norm. You want to kind of that's kind of the theme that I've been getting lately, is that you want to try to keep your body into that sort of state with a lot of different varieties of things that you consume. One of them being calcium. You don't want it too high or too low. You want to try to keep these things regulated and so that you don't go into, like storage or purging type thing. But I was trying to figure out how does, if there was anything out there, and I couldn't find it, but if there was a graph that was related to the spike in blood sugar, that also showed insulin production in relation to nitric oxide production, all in the blood, and I couldn't find it. There might be articles out there or graphs, but I don't have access to them. I couldn't find anything like this. So, if you're somebody that's in the medical field or want to do an experiment and you've got the money to do it, that's a good one. That's probably not been done before. This is what your results should look like. But basically, if I understand it correctly, we eat carbohydrates, our blood glucose levels go up. At the same time, you're also going to have an inherently a production of insulin. So the insulin levels in the blood should also go up to counteract that blood glucose. I think everybody can easily agree on that. Well, also, when you're producing a bunch of insulin, because we know from the depression video that that insulin requires a ton of nitrogen and oxygen to create it. Okay? Well, if you're consuming a bunch of nitrogen and oxygen to create insulin, obviously your nitric oxide levels are going to plummet, right? And so here, this drop right here, this is depression. That's your depression right there. This is what it would look like on your graphs whenever you guys finally figure out and show this to the world. That's what it should look like. The other thing, I think this is the last thing for this video, but I found a decent, probably a decent dentist, someone who knows what they're doing, mercury safe, fluoride free. Sounds good to me, at least out of the gate. They're also talking about nitric oxide here and how basically everything I've told you, how the correction for, where is it? This one here is nitric oxide. And obviously it's going to do a bunch of other things too for your brain, keep you happy. These all sound great. But the one thing that's noted, I don't know if this article covers it, but the mouth is actually, here, take care of your mouth. Eat nitrate-rich vegetables, and the reason why you do this is because you absorb these the nitrates in your mouth just like you would nicotine, and it also improves like the biome, the biome of the mouth, just like you have a biome of your gut, you have a biome of your mouth. So I don't brush my teeth anymore, and I floss. I get the gunk outs, you know. But I swish with my green juice that I make, and um, the mouth should be cleaning itself for the most part. I mean, that's what the saliva is for, and it should be remineralizing your teeth. The food you're eating should be remineralizing your teeth. So long as you're doing these things, everything should go fine. But you gotta maintain. You gotta keep doing it. You can't go back. You can't stay on that high carb diet and expect everything to stay fine. It's just the way it is, right? I think that's it for this video. Ciao.